The night I decided to get a divorce, I met God. He let me meet my husband at 18 again, and gave me the chance to change the past. So I made 2 wishes to 18-year-old Elias. First wish, don't take the shortcut through the alley, because the girl you love will get hurt trying to save you. Second wish, don't confess your love to Helen. Walk away from her life, forever, because the 30-year-old Elias no longer loves Helen. Chapter 1. When I woke again, it was already morning. The cold on the other side of the bed was all too familiar. It reminded me Elias hadn't come home last night. Yesterday was my 30th birthday. I decided to divorce Elias. I'd finally accepted the truth. He didn't love me, and I no longer wished for him to turn back. Tears slipped from the corners of my eyes, cold and wet. But it wasn't just tears. A translucent figure shimmered beside me. 18-year-old Elias was sitting at the edge of the bed, staring at me in a daze. Helen, where are we? Why are you crying? Did someone hurt you? His gaze paused on the wedding photo hanging on the wall. His youthful face flushed red, the color creeping all the way to his ears. The one in the photo, is that me? I was just as shocked. I sat up and pinched myself over and over. Was yesterday's dream real? I rushed out of the room. The food on the table was exactly the same as last night, untouched. A delicate jewelry box lay discarded on the floor. Inside was a diamond necklace in the shape of a dog. Yesterday was our wedding anniversary. Elias had gone out early with the kids to accompany Victoria. I waited at home all day, only to receive this hastily bought dog-shaped necklace. And the thing I fear the most is dogs. Helen, why won't you talk to me? Elias's nervous voice came from behind. I was certain now, this wasn't a dream. I turned around and saw him. The 18-year-old Elias, sun-kissed, innocent, his eyes sparkling like stars, so different from the 30-year-old version of him. He took a step closer, and when he saw the faded star-shaped necklace at my neck, his face changed. Wait, wasn't this the necklace I gave you when I planned to confess to you? Wait, does that mean I already confessed? You're the Helen from the future? My future wife. I instinctively touched the necklace, eyes misting over. Yes, I'm your future wife. 12 summers ago. Elias had pulled me aside on the school track and handed me this necklace. Blushing, he said, Helen, graduation's coming. I don't want you to forget me. This necklace is for you. As long as you wear it, even for a single day, I'll love you more and more with each day. I've remembered that line for 12 years, and I've worn this necklace for 12 years. Looking down at the broken diamond dog necklace on the floor, my tears finally burst out. His promise still echoed in my ears, but the Elias who truly loved me was gone. My phone buzzed. A message from Victoria. Helen, yeah. Do you like the necklace? Elias originally meant to give it to me, but since yesterday was your anniversary, I told him to give it to you instead. So, are you happy? Happy? Yes, so happy. I stared at the constant stream of messages in the chat window, smiling bitterly. So even this gift I didn't like wasn't really meant for me. It was just a leftover favor. My heart felt like it was being crushed by a giant hand. I closed my eyes, afraid to lose control of my emotions. 18-year-old Elias stepped forward, flustered. Helen, don't cry. Did I do something wrong? He reached out to touch me, but his hand passed through my body. What's going on? Did I time travel or something? Hearing that keyword, my eyes flew open, locking with his panicked gaze. If this really is time travel, can I change the past? I instinctively touched the horrifying scar on my wrist. My voice trembled with hope. Elias, can you promise me one thing? Chapter 2. Elias froze, then quickly nodded. Of course. Helen, I'll do anything for you. Anything? Hearing those familiar words, my mind faltered for a moment. 12 years ago, Elias used to say that all the time. Back then, he was genuine, passionate. He gave me all his love without holding back. But the man he became couldn't even muster a kind word. I lowered my gaze and made my first request. School lets out early today. Don't walk through the alley. If you do, I'll get bitten by a stray dog trying to save you. My wrist will be injured, and I'll never play piano again. Elias blinked, then looked at the spot I'd covered on my wrist. His eyes reddened instantly. I promise, I'll remember. The next second, a flash of white light. 18-year-old Elias returned to his timeline. The door opened. 30-year-old Elias walked in, holding our son, his brows furrowed at the untouched food on the table. Helen, didn't you clean up? Do you even realize how tired I am from work every day? You stay home all day and still can't lift a finger? What kind of wife are you? Even our son looked at me with disgust. Mom, you're so lazy. You're nothing like Auntie Victoria. How could someone like you be my mom? They didn't see the breakfast I prepared every morning. Didn't see the neatly folded clothes in their wardrobes. Didn't see the small things I did every day to care for them. Didn't even see the exhaustion on my face, or the tears still clinging to the corners of my eyes. All they saw was the food sitting untouched on the table. Too tired to argue, I numbly took the dishes into the kitchen. Elias, seemingly satisfied, walked toward the bedroom. Along the way, he kicked something on the floor, the dog-shaped necklace, without a second thought. He picked it up and tossed it in the trash. The crisp sound it made as it fell shattered my heart completely. That necklace you couldn't even bother to look at was your wedding anniversary gift to me. The next morning, I woke up in the same cold, empty bed. Yesterday had been our son's birthday, but I wasn't even allowed to celebrate it. Victoria's posts were still at the top of my feed. Happy birthday to our precious boy. Elias had one arm around our son, and the other around Victoria. They really looked like a happy family. Helen, you're awake. Look at your hand. 18-year-old Elias beamed at me, eyes glowing with excitement. I listened to you. I didn't go through the alley yesterday. I immediately raised my wrist to check. The scar was gone. 12 years ago, Elias was attacked by a stray dog in that alley. I happened to pass by and saved him. In the process, my left wrist was injured. I bore that scar ever since, and could never play piano again, but I never regretted it. Because back then, Elias said to me, Helen, you saved me. I swear I'll treat you well for the rest of my life. That promise lasted until 1 week ago, at a friend's engagement banquet. Victoria performed Mariage d'Amour in front of all the guests. Thunderous applause erupted throughout the hall when someone casually mentioned that I once played the piano too. Elias laughed. He glanced at the scar on my wrist and sneered. Don't joke around, Helen. Play the piano? Her hand's been useless for years. That night, standing in the brightly lit banquet hall, I felt like I had fallen into an icy abyss. The 18-year-old Helen would have never imagined that the person she risked everything to save would one day mock her scars in front of a crowd, just like how the 18-year-old Elias would have never imagined that 12 years later, he would burn through all the love Helen ever had for him. I looked at my wrist, now smooth and unmarked. Suddenly, I laughed until tears fell. So the past really can be changed. I turned to look at Elias, still unaware of what had happened. Smiling sincerely, I said, can you do one more thing for me? Promise me, never show up in Helen's life again. Chapter 3. Elias froze. The excitement in his eyes disappeared, replaced by disbelief. What did you say? I said, don't confess to me. Leave my life, forever. He took 2 steps back. His eyes instantly filled with red. Why? Helen, don't you know how much I love you? I do. I looked up, revealing my tear-swollen eyes. I know, 18-year-old, you would give me your textbook when I forgot mine. Even take the punishment for me. You rallied all your friends to confront the classmate who spread rumors about me when I had a cold or a fever, even the slightest discomfort. You were the first to notice and take me to the nurse's office. I know how much you loved me then. I also know how terribly you treat me now. Elias was stunned, eyes red. He leaned closer, voice hoarse. I don't believe it. Helen, I love you so much. How could I possibly treat you badly? His tone was so certain, so sincere. For a moment, I saw that innocent boy again, that boy who once took my hand on an empty school field. His eyes lit with starlight. Helen, I like you more than anyone. Yes, you loved me so much. How could you bear to hurt me? So how did the Elias of 30 forget all of that? Forget how to love me? After a long silence, I made a decision to let him see for himself what kind of man his future self had become. I pushed open the door. The house was silent. Yesterday's breakfast still sat cold on the table. A mess. This was the norm in my marriage with Josue. He was a brilliant financial executive, and I was just the unpaid housekeeper. My phone buzzed with a group message from my son's class. Dear parents, please arrive on time for today's family sports day. I froze. My son had never told me about it. When I stepped onto the school field, I immediately saw Elias and our son. When they saw me, both of their eyes lit up. They rushed toward me, saying, "Why are you only getting here now?" The closer I got, the more I could feel my own breathing. Was it joy? Was it emotion? Or just disbelief? Ever since Victoria showed up, they hadn't smiled at me like that in a long, long time. 18-year-old Elias stood beside me, proud and beaming. "Helen, see? I still love you, just like before." But in the very next second, the two of them brushed right past me. The smile on my lips hadn't even had the chance to rise. Before freezing in place, I turned around in shock, only to see them walking firmly toward the woman behind me. "Victoria, you're finally here. Auntie Victoria, you're finally here." The dream shattered. I was left standing there, just a few steps away. Like a clown, I looked up and saw the banner hanging above the playground. More precious than any gift is time spent together as a family. 18-year-old Elias was stunned. Then he suddenly ran up to the three of them and shouted, "Hey, Elias! Helen is your wife. You love Helen. Not her. Not this woman." But 30-year-old Elias couldn't see his frantic yelling. He simply gazed at Victoria with gentle affection. That gaze, so gentle, stabbed both of us right in the heart. I closed my eyes and turned to leave. Just then, a car suddenly lost control and veered straight onto the field, headed right toward the three of them. Out of sheer instinct as a mother, I rushed forward and shielded my son with my own body. The side mirror scraped my ear violently. A sharp, tearing pain ripped through me. Warm blood streamed down into my clothes. But I barely noticed. All I cared about was my son. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" My son stared at me in shock, then suddenly broke free from my arms, crying as he ran straight to Victoria. "Auntie, are you okay?" It was then I noticed, in that life or death moment, I had protected our son, and Elias had protected Victoria. Now, both of them were huddled anxiously around her, not sparing me even a single glance. I thought of that moment again, when the car came charging toward me. 18-year-old Elias hadn't hesitated. He threw his arms wide to shield me. Even though the car passed right through him, I heard him crying, his voice trembling. "Helen, are you okay? Does it hurt? I'm sorry. I didn't protect you. I'm sorry." I wanted to tell him I was fine, that it wasn't his fault, that he had done enough. But the words wouldn't come. My mind was chaos. Tears blurred my vision. By the time I wiped them away, all I could see was Elias carrying Victoria in his arms, running out of the field. My son followed closely behind, afraid of being left out. All around us, other parents held their children tight, mocking me for overestimating my worth. My heart ached, 100 times worse than the wound. "Elias, will you ever remember that when you were 18, you truly, deeply loved me?" I snapped out of it and looked at the young Elias, who was crying uncontrollably. Softly, I spoke. "Elias, now, can you promise me one thing? Please, stay away from me." Chapter 4. The boy's breath caught in his throat. Neither of us spoke. We stood quietly, each sorting through our emotions. After a long silence, he finally asked, "You're disappointed in me, in the 30-year-old me, aren't you?" "Yes. If I listen to you and stay away, your life will be better, right?" "Yes. You don't love me anymore, do you?" Tears fell silently to the ground. I smiled, a smile more painful than crying. "Yes. All right. I promise. My lowered hands tightened involuntarily. I smiled again, but my heart ached worse than ever. Thank you, for protecting me in danger, for once truly loving me, for agreeing to leave me. One last question. You loved me, didn't you? This time, I cried out loud. Yes, I loved you, more than anyone ever. We didn't speak again. Only the sound of wind brushing across the empty field remained. After who knows how long, he finally whispered, Helen, 18-year-old Elias really loved you. And with that, a bright white light flashed. We returned to our own timelines. Elias, I lied to you. 30-year-old Helen still loves the 18-year-old Elias. I got my wound treated and went back to that cold, silent house. Everything was the same as always. Elias and the child weren't home. No one was there waiting for me. I pulled the already printed divorce papers from the drawer and sat on the sofa for a long time. I wanted to end this 12-year-long relationship with my own hands. I wanted to say goodbye, properly. 11 p.m. Elias came home. He walked in with our son, barking orders out of habit. Go make dinner. We're starving. When he saw the bandage on my ear, he froze. What happened? Why is it so serious? I didn't respond to his delayed concern. Instead, I pulled out the divorce papers from behind me and handed them to him. Elias, let's get a divorce. His expression stiffened, then turned into fury. Helen, are you crazy? We have a kid. What are you even talking about? Stop making a scene. Yes, we have a child. But when danger came, you didn't care about me, not even our child. I took a deep breath and met his gaze again. I've already signed it. You should sign it too, soon. Elias scoffed, his eyes sharp as knives. Divorce? In this life, never happening. Helen, ever since you were 18, you were destined to stay by my side. With that, he grabbed the papers and threw them in the trash. I said nothing. I bent down to retrieve them, but my hands passed right through the trash can, turning translucent. Tick. Tick. The clock on the wall struck midnight. Our lives began to reset. Chapter 5. Miss Helen. The assistant's voice pulled me back to reality. I looked at the grand piano on stage, briefly dazed. It seemed I'd been lost in another daydream again. Ever since my 18th birthday, I would sometimes find myself flooded with memories that didn't belong to me, as if I were living the life of another Helen. In a parallel timeline, in that other life, I gave up the ability to play the piano, to save the boy I loved, and in return, I won his heart. At 20, I walked down the aisle holding my husband's hand, bathed in the blessings of all our loved ones. At 23, we had a child born of love. He kissed my forehead tenderly, eyes full of devotion for me and the baby. But every time I tried to see the face of the man beside me in the dream, a mysterious force would always rip me away before I could. This time, though, it was my 30-year-old self. I saw the man who once loved me madly, now tightly shielding another woman, while leaving me bleeding on the side. When I asked for a divorce, he scoffed and warned, Helen, since you were 18, you've belonged at my side. And it was then that I finally saw him clearly, the man who had consumed all of my youth. It was my classmate, Elias, the same Elias who sends me flowers after every performance, yet never shows up in person, suppressing the shock in my heart. I took a deep breath, and under the admiring gaze of the audience, stepped gracefully onto the stage. My slender fingers touched the black and white keys. An elegant music poured forth. When the final note fell, the audience erupted in applause. I stood in the spotlight and bowed gracefully in thanks. As I raised my head, I locked eyes with the Elias from my dream. His gaze trembled slightly, then he turned and slowly left. Backstage, I was about to place a pill into my mouth, when a sudden sharp pain struck my head. I grew dizzy, and the pill slipped from my fingers onto the floor. I thought I'd recall more memories this time. But instead, I only felt pain, a deep, long-repressed ache in my chest. The assistant walked in with a cup of calming tea, and rushed to help me onto the couch. She saw the scattered pills on the floor and frowned in worry. Should we go to the hospital and get you checked out? I waved my hand gently. Just take me home. Back in the comfort of my bed, the headache finally faded, and my thoughts began to stir again. I had liked Elias when I was 18. I was the school's renowned piano prodigy, and he was the acknowledged violin genius. Our names were always spoken together by teachers and classmates. When I heard he was going to confess to me, I couldn't help but secretly look forward to it, until the day I saw him in the music room, patiently and gently teaching a younger girl how to play the violin. Hand over hand, my hopes and excitement were doused in cold water in an instant. How silly I'd been, chasing shadows, wasting time dreaming about a future that was never guaranteed. Once I figured it out, I applied to study abroad, and left without looking back. From then on, Elias and I became two parallel lines, never intersecting again. I was just about to fall asleep when the shrill ring of my phone snapped me awake. The caller ID was an unfamiliar number, but something in my gut stirred. Before I could think twice, I picked up the call. A long silence. Then finally, a voice. "Helen, it's me, Elias." Chapter 6. My heart gave a heavy thump. I took a deep breath and responded in a polite but distant tone. "Hello, what can I help you with?" Elias hesitated a bit before speaking. "Helen, the teacher asked me to check if you're coming to the class reunion this weekend." I instinctively wanted to refuse, but he cut in. "She said she misses you, and she's seriously ill. She might not have much time left." The calm I had just regained was instantly ripped apart. Back then, there was only one spot to study abroad, and it was this teacher who fought tooth and nail to help me get it, taking it from the hands of a rich boy with connections. Because of that, she was demoted and ostracized by the school, reduced from a promising department head to managing the PE equipment room. While I was abroad, I would call her every year to check in. After returning to the country, I asked to meet her several times, but she always refused. And now, okay, send me the time and place. I'll be there, even if I had to see Elias. For the teacher's sake, I could set aside my misgivings. Besides, I wanted to know, does Elias also dream the same dreams as I do? Weekend. Just as I stepped into the restaurant, I heard my old classmates cheer. "Look, it's our school's piano prodigy." "What are you talking about? Helen's an internationally renowned pianist now." My former roommates rushed up to pull me into their circle, showering me with warmth and gossip. I smiled and responded to them one by one. Another round of exclamations broke out. Elias had arrived, pushing the teacher's wheelchair. From the moment he entered, I could feel his gaze lingering on me, on and off. And soon, our classmates were looking between the two of us, smirking with teasing expressions. I walked quickly to the teacher's side. When I held her dry, frail hands, tears streamed down my face. "Teacher, what happened to you?" Elias's lips moved, his gaze pained. But the teacher cut in with a chuckle. "Elias, it's our reunion today. Let's not dwell on the sad stuff." Then she looked at me and smiled warmly. "Helen, you've done well. You didn't let me down." She held my hand and had me sit beside her. Just as Elias was about to head to the men's table, she grabbed his sleeve and pulled him down next to me. "Don't go. You talk about Helen all the time. Now that she's here, why are you avoiding her?" Elias's ears turned red as he panicked under her teasing. His eyes darted nervously. I glanced at him. His suit was well-tailored, making his figure look tall and elegant. The gold-rimmed glasses gave him a refined, cool aura. His brows were relaxed and gentle, nothing like the Elias in my dreams who always frowned. He had always seemed like this, gentle, scholarly. So what changed him? The teacher was clearly in high spirits. After her third glass of wine, Elias gently switched it for water. "That's your third glass. Teacher, if you keep drinking, I'm telling your doctor at the rehab center." The teacher blinked, then turned to me with mock outrage. "Helen, look at this rascal. He dares to lecture me now. Can't you do something about him?" I glanced up at Elias. Just one glance, and I caught the tightly suppressed emotion in his eyes. He stammered awkwardly. I. Then he lowered his head like a scolded child, sneaking a glance at me. Our classmates, watching from nearby, began to tease. "Whoa, Is this really our bold, fearless Elias? Did I drink too much? Am I seeing things? It's always Helen. From school till now, she's the only one who can make Elias bow his head. Ha ha ha. I chuckled and looked at the teacher. Teacher, I don't think I can do anything about him. If it gets worse, you might need to call the police. Laughter burst out across the room. That one playful line eased the growing tension and clearly conveyed my stance. I had no lingering feelings for Elias. The 18-year-old versions of us had long since missed our chance, and even if we hadn't, I'd never choose to relive the same tragedy again. Chapter 7. After the reunion, I took the teacher back to the hospital. Looking at the room full of emergency equipment, a wave of sorrow welled up in my heart. If it weren't for me, she'd at least be an honored senior educator by now. Sensing my emotions, the teacher smiled and said, "Don't believe the rumors out there. None of them are true. When you left, the school was going through reforms, there were layoffs and pay cuts across the board. I couldn't bear to leave the kids I'd taught, and switching teachers near graduation would have affected them emotionally. So I chose to stay." She smiled the entire time she spoke. But my heart ached even more. "And your leg?" She patted it and smiled again. "Oh, I got hit by a car while saving a student. It just slowed my walking a bit, nothing serious. These past few years, Elias has helped take care of me. It's been quite convenient." I froze. "Elias?" The teacher nodded, pulling me down to sit beside her. "I knew people said you two were dating back then. I considered stepping in, but before I could, you came to me first. All these years, Elias has been starting his business while also caring for me. He's a good kid, and I can tell he still has feelings for you. Every time he visits, he always talks about your life abroad. What awards you've won. Whenever he says your name, his eyes light up. All these years, I had studied hard and practiced piano tirelessly, just to forget him, to erase the nightmare that had haunted me for 12 years. If not for those dreams, I might have looked forward to this. But ever since realizing the man in those dreams was Elias, all my hopes crumbled. Teacher, I'll think about it." I lowered my gaze to hide my emotions, afraid to meet her hopeful eyes, and even more afraid to see disappointment. Leaving the hospital, I walked the streets alone. The streetlights stretched my shadow long and lonely. Maybe it's time I started a relationship. Ever since that chest-piercing pain, I hadn't had any more dreams, but the memories hadn't faded. Seeing Elias today, even his clothes and details were exactly the same as in my dreams. A gust of wind blew by, bringing with it a whiff of alcohol. Up ahead, in a dark alley, a few drunk men leaned against the wall, their eyes glinting darkly in my direction. My heart clenched in fear. I didn't know this area well. If something happened, but if I took the alley, I'd reach the main road, and my home was just across the street. One of the men saw my hesitation and staggered toward me with a lewd grin. "Hey there, girl, what are you doing out so late by yourself? Come have some fun with us, we'll walk you home." As he reached his hand toward my face, I turned to run and crashed into a solid chest. "Elias." He pulled me behind him, took off his suit jacket and draped it over my shoulders, then calmly rolled up his sleeves and punched the drunk straight to the ground. The others, seeing their buddy get hit, stumbled forward to help. The situation turned chaotic as I tried to call the police. One drunk swung a bottle at my head. Elias blocked it just in time, pulling me into his arms. "Helen, are you hurt?" I shook my head, trying to pull away, but suddenly, something warm and sticky dripped onto my face. I reached up and touched it. Panic shot through me. "Blood." "Elias, you're bleeding." Hearing that, the drunks panicked and fled. I held Elias in my arms, desperately calling his name over and over. "Elias, wake up. Don't fall asleep." He opened his eyes slightly, brushed his hand gently across my cheek, and murmured. 30-year-old Elias finally protected Helen. I did it, before I could grasp his meaning. His hand went limp. Chapter 8. Operating Room. Doctors raced against time to perform the surgery. If something happened to Elias, the hospital's largest shareholder, The entire place could go under. All the way there, Elias never let go of my hand. Not for a single moment. After several failed attempts, the doctors finally asked me to accompany them into the operating room. I witnessed the entire resuscitation process. The glass shards from the bottle had shattered against the back of his head, cutting downward, finally leaving a long gash across his ear. It looked eerily like the wound I once had. When we left the operating room, Elias still had his eyes tightly shut, his face pale, yet the grip on my hand hadn't loosened one bit. In the special care ward, I looked at the unconscious Elias lying before me and finally asked what I had wondered for so long. Elias, why did you save me? Do you know you could have died? The teacher said you have feelings for me, but why? All these years, did you never come visit me abroad? It's funny, I've been daydreaming since I was 18, dreaming we were together, but when I woke up, I was still alone. At the time, I thought, if you confess to me, I'd definitely say yes, but I waited and waited. Graduation came, and you never confessed. Then I saw you teaching that junior girl to play violin, and that's when I gave up. But even after going abroad, I kept dreaming of you, of us getting married, even having a child. And then, in the dream, you stopped loving me. You fell for another woman. You hated me. When I saw you again, I couldn't even tell what was real and what was a dream. Isn't that ridiculous? Elias, do you have dreams like that too? Or is it just... My finger was gently squeezed. Startled, I looked up, but his eyes were still closed. After a moment, I gently withdrew my hand and tucked his blanket in. Elias, if that dream was a parallel version of us, I won't blame you, but I also won't love you anymore. With that, I walked out of the room. Elias's tightly closed eyes slowly opened. A single tear slipped from the corner of his eye. The next day, I brought a pot of chicken soup to the hospital. Just as I was about to push open the door, I heard Elias's cold voice inside. Elias, we've caught all those thugs. What should we do with them? Send them to the underground fight club. My fingers tightened around the thermos instinctively. That icy tone, it was exactly like the Elias in my dreams. Even the way he handled people, delivering them to brutal punishment, where life or death was uncertain. For a moment, I didn't know if I should go in, or if I should ever get involved with him again. Just then, the door opened from the inside. The secretary looked surprised at first, then nodded politely. Miss Helen. I gave a small nod and stepped in. On the hospital bed, Elias was wrapped in thick bandages. Sunlight from the window cast half his face in light and half in shadow. He looked both like the bright, warm boy I knew, and the cold, ruthless husband from my dreams. Seeing me frozen at the door, with suspicion and doubt written on my face, Elias's expression tensed. You heard everything? I was silent for a moment, then nodded. He lowered his gaze, voice muffled. What if I told you, it's not what you think? I turned away, voice distant. It's your business. I don't interfere, and you don't need to explain. Elias looked wounded. He turned his eyes toward the window and said softly, These next few days, can I trouble you to look after the teacher? All right. I handed him the chicken soup. Thank you, for yesterday. Whatever kind of person he was, he did save me. That much was true. Helen. I looked at Elias. He hesitated for a while, then simply shook his head and let me leave without another word. Chapter 9. The night before my final piano concert in China, I received the news of the teacher's passing. It was the second time I met Elias since the reunion. He was dressed in all black, grief etched deep into his features. Following closely behind him were his subordinates, those same drunkards from the alley. But now, they looked transformed, strong, composed, and gentlemanly in front of the guests. I stared in shock. The leader noticed and jogged over. I instinctively stepped back. He stopped in front of me and gave a sincere bow. Sorry, sis-in-law. We were out of line before. It won't happen again. For a moment, I saw Elias in a new light. Still, I kept my distance. After the memorial, just as I was about to leave, Elias caught up to me and handed me 2 envelopes. This one's from the teacher, and the other, it's from me. Mine, open it only when you're ready. I stared at the letters, unmoving. Elias shifted nervously, the hope in his eyes gradually dimming. He was about to put his letter away. But I reached out and snatched it from him. I will read it. His eyes lit up again, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Back home. I read the teacher's letter first, the sentence she repeated most. I hope you and Elias both find happiness. I gave a bitter smile. Without that dream, maybe we really could've. My eyes fell on the yellowed envelope. After a long pause, I tossed it aside. If I've already chosen to move on, then I won't let the sudden emotion derail me. At my final concert, I wore a silver-white gown and sat at the grand piano. My fingers fluttered over the keys like butterfly wings poised for flight. From start to finish, Elias didn't appear. After the performance, I instinctively looked to my assistant. She looked confused at first. Then, understanding dawned. She handed me a bouquet of red roses and a letter. That gentleman didn't come. He sent these through a delivery service. Curious. I opened the letter. There was only one sentence. La dernière fois que j'ai eu le dis. Je t'aime. The last time I'll say it, I love you. I frowned, confused. Why would Elias suddenly say something like this? After the performance, I packed to move. The domestic tour had been a huge success. I had been invited to join Berklee College of Music as a professor. Once I left the country, I wasn't planning to return. As I stood in the middle of my now empty home, suitcase in hand, ready to go, I saw the yellowed envelope by the door again. It was stained with smudged footprints, the writing almost illegible. I sighed, bent down, and picked it up. This time, I opened it. Inside was Elias's clean, firm handwriting. Helen. Or perhaps, wife. I don't know if I should call you that, or if I'll ever get the chance to. After you left, I got into a car accident. I slept for a long time in that strange void. I saw the you from 30. You were graceful, intelligent, and beautiful. We were married. We had a peaceful, happy home, just the three of us. The house was warm and beautifully decorated. It was everything I had dreamed of giving you. I thought we were happy. But then, I saw you crying alone in that house. I wanted so badly to wipe your tears away and teach a lesson to the bastard who made you cry, only to realize that bastard was me. Seeing you hurt shattered me. Maybe letting you go was a form of protection. I finally made the decision to push you away. That privileged rich boy who gave up the overseas slot, that was me. When I told our teacher my plan, she first said I was crazy, but after I insisted, she finally agreed to act with me and helped send you abroad. I thought if we didn't see each other, I could stop thinking about you, but missing you is torment. I couldn't resist sneaking overseas again and again to watch your performances. I even mustered the courage to send you flowers. I thought, maybe this way, I could keep secretly loving you. But that time I was hospitalized. I overheard what you said. I didn't know how to face you, so I pretended to be asleep. If hearing those memories brought you pain, then the Elias at 30, who did all those things, must make you miserable. Rather than that, I'd rather it all be just a dream for you. I'll bear it alone. But I can't anymore. I'm dying. That car accident, the one that changed Helen's life at 18, its price is that Elias at 30 must disappear forever. Don't be sad. Seeing you live well now, that's my happiness too. Just before I leave, I wanted to finally finish the confession I never completed at 18. Helen, I like you. I hope that in the days without me, your life will be filled with joy. At the end of the letter, a star-shaped necklace was carefully taped in the corner. I let out a small laugh, but the tears slid down on their own. Elias at 18 truly loved me. Chapter 10. At school, after finishing a music demonstration class, the students gathered around me, excitedly asking about life back in China. A moment later, a blonde, blue-eyed young man walked over with a vibrant bouquet of roses in his arms. In slightly clumsy Chinese, he shyly confessed, "Teacher, I really like you. Please marry me." The crowd burst into laughter, clearly enjoying the moment, all waiting for me to say yes. My fingers gently rubbed the star-shaped necklace around my neck. I smiled and shook my head. Sorry, I already have someone I love. He'll be with me always. Sunlight streamed down, and for a moment, I saw 18-year-old Elias standing in the corner again, smiling at me, with tears shimmering in his eyes.